So yesterday we discussed about the introduction of SQL part, which is the select queries, why we need that, and we seen about the select star retrieving the all the records, and we also seen about the restriction of rows. I want this set of rows, and we also seen the how we can retrieve for the particular fields. So in the database table, you will have the hundreds of fields. In those hundreds of fields, how you want to retrieve the data for the particular set of fields. So for that, we have to explicitly select the fields. So when you don't follow the structure how SAP is following, so at that time you will get one error that called as not compatible. We also seen that. So the solution for that is corresponding fields. Okay, how you selected that. This we seen study. So we declared a parameter. So how we can use that parameter in the select query, we have to do it now. See, you are entering some value into the parameter. Whatever the value which you entered as an input, which it should exist in the database. Okay, it should exist in the database table, then only it will fetch the data. So that's the reason we are written a where condition. So whatever the value which I was given in the selection screen, if that exists in the database, it has to fetch that particular record. If not, it's not going to be performed. It's not going to be, you're not going to get any record. So that's the main purpose of using a parameter into the select query. And whenever you don't have value, at least you have to raise a validation. Validation means, for example, user is entering some value which is not there in the database table. At least you have to show up some message or confirm to the user this particular input is not available in the database table or enter correct input like that. You have to provide a message. Whenever you can take it an example as a mail. Whenever you entered your email password as a wrong, immediately you will get the message, right? Your password is wrong or incorrect, because that should not be there in the database. So initially, when you create your Gmail, there will be one set of username and password that should save in the database. And again, when you try to log in, if you're not giving that credentials, if it is not there in the database, so definitely it throws an error or it shows some message. So similarly, when you don't have any data, so you have to raise a validation. As an ABAP developer, so you have to apply the validations plays major role. Okay, for that we have to use the concept of messages also. So let me do how we can apply the messages also. Okay, firstly we try to assign that particular parameter in our select query. For example, where what is the field which I am going to apply the parameter? I'm having the EBLM, right? This is the field. Equal to, whenever you have the parameter, so you have to segregate it, you have to separate it by equal to, that is equal. That means you will get only single value. So what is the parameter which we declared? PEBLN, right? Because every time the value is going to be changed, whatever the value which user is giving, I have to get only those value. If you directly hard code in the where condition, you will get only that value, irrespective of the user, irrespective of the input. So that's the reason which we take it as a parameter in the where condition. Let me activate this. Let me put the breakpoint also and execute this. So now let me see the data first. Okay, let me see the data first. After that, we try to enter input. Execute. Okay, so let me copy the entry first. For example, I'm going to copy this entry. After this, let me put the paste here and execute. So now it can trigger the debugging LTEKKO. As of now, 0 records. So this is the input which we are giving in the selection screen. Once if I process this F6, I'll get the record which I am giving. If it is there in the database, I'll get the corresponding record which I was given in the selection screen. So now you can display that. Okay, that's very simple, right? For example, what if I give the record which is not there in the database table? The beauty of debugging is you can actually see the values by changing in the debugging itself. So what is the value which we are giving in the selection screen? 4506. But for example, I want to see for the 4507. Okay. So for example, initially we have like this, right? So if you want to edit any values in this parameter, so you can press the, here will be having a change field content. So once you click on this, you are allowed to change the values into the debugging mode. Whatever the values which you change, according to that, you will get that particular data. For example, I'm going to give as 7. Okay, put enter. So now you can execute by pressing F8. So now you can see what is the value which we are changing, 4507, right? In the debugging also, you can put some of the test values, some of the test cases you can perform, and you can execute that. That is also a possibility in the debugging. This is the one of the technique we have.
Runtime, these debugging values will be showing up.
Pardon me again. Can you repeat the question?
In the runtime also, this
Yeah. Even though you give one set
okay.
of value in the selection screen, after that, if you want to see any values other than this,
Mhm.
you can change in the debugging level and you can see. Okay, so that's the main advantage, even though you can change that. For
I'm
example,
reading
if you
from
see,
text.
yeah, for example, there will be a lot of code in the standard code which is given by the SAP. There will be a lot of code. So if you want to test that and changing according to your values, so that's also its possibility. Or someone has written the code and after that you will got some issues. So whenever you want to do that, you have to test case in the debugging mode. At that time also this option will be helpful. For example, the recent change which we did in the, there will be an Adobe form which is having the deleted items in the ME23 and transaction code, where they are having the deletion indicator. Based on the deletion indicator, they are going to perform that. So there will be a lot of code which was returned. In fact, if you see that particular report, that report was built in 2008. So recently we got that change. So in those, based upon the deletion indicator, which they are going to display their deleted form. So in those cases, there will be a lot of code which will be returned. So we check that, that will be the deletion indicator, and we try to replicate that deletion indicator in the debugging itself. We don't know that was worked or not. Just we give the test case based on the deletion indicator, and it worked. It helps to uh, not to debug the thousands of lines of code below to that. Many times it will be very helpful by changing any some dummy values into the debugging level. And
Yeah, understood, Harsha.
yeah, what if I give the value which is not there in the database table? So it will be triggered the debugging, but you will not get any output. For example, LDEKQ as of now 0. To check this, so now you can see size of RC 4. 4 means it does not contain any data. Whatever the value which I was giving in the selection screen, which is not there in the database. So that's the reason the data is not coming. Size of bus is also 4. That means this is wrong. How can the user know this is the wrong input? We have to show some message, right? Then only the user could know the this particular input. We don't have any data into the database. Then only they could know, right? For that, we'll be having the concept of messages in the ABAP. Okay, messages, messages, and ABAP. We're having the different types of messages. Okay, different types of messages. You have error message, we have information message, we have warning message, we have abort message. Like this, we'll be having many different types of messages. For example, after getting the data, you want to display one message that the data is retrieved successfully. What type of message this was? Success message, right? At that time, you have to prefer the success message. The type is yes. Yes means for the success. For example, I already given the one keys. If the user is giving the input which is not there in the database table, we have to throw a message. What kind of a message? That is the error, right? That is wrong, right? We have to use the error message. Okay, like this, it depends upon the scenario which you are working for, and you have to choose the message type. How you have to display that particular message. That tells you the message type. For example, if I check size abasi, size abasi equal to 0. That means if the data is retrieved successfully, we have to show a message. Okay, you have to write it down. Message. What is the message you want to display? Okay, for example, I want to display data retrieved successfully. What kind of a message this was? This was success message. What's the message type? The type will be yes. Okay. Type, what type of messages? For example, yes. Okay, let me activate this. Let me see what's the error. Okay, we are not closing the end of. Okay, if the data is not successful, that means if the data is not retrieved, we have to display another set of messages which is having the error. For example, message enter correct input. What is the type of message? Error message. The type is E. E for the error, S for the success, I for the information, W for the warning. Okay, let me write down for your understanding comments in the form of comments. I'll write down so that you would be clearly understood. For example, E for the error, S for the success, W for the warning, I for the information message. Next, X for the abort message. Abort message. Okay, so now let me put the breakpoint and we'll try to execute this. And according to that, we'll see how it notifies, depends upon the data which you are giving in the form of the input in the selection screen. For example, if I give the input which is there in the database, F8. So now F8. So now it could see is the internal table we have LTEK, right? As of now, 0 records. PEBLN, this is the EBLN. So now the size of ours is also 0. That means we retrieve the record. According to that, condition is true. If the condition is true, if condition is true, it will go to the inside if statement. What is the message? We are printing that the data is retrieved successfully, right? So in that cases, you will get this message. Once if I execute this, so now you can see the message is displayed, data retrieved successfully.
One question here, Harsha. This 450006 is there in the database, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the reason it fetch the data of that particular record. For example, for your confirmation, this is the record 4506. Okay.
Yeah, able to understand. Yeah.
What if I give the input which is not there in the database? So we have to throw an error message. For example, this is the input which is not there in the database. If I press F8, it will stop the next breakpoint where it has PEBLN. This is the value which we are giving. LT EKKO is our internal table. So let me see the size of our C. Size of our says as of now 0. Once if I process this particular statement, I'll get 4. Because we don't have any data for this particular input which I was given in the selection screen. If statement is not satisfied, directly goes to the else because the size of us is other than 0. It should display enter correct input. See, enter correct input. If you see the type of message, it is coming in the bottom layer of the screen, right? Bottom layer of the screen. So now, if you want to get this message in the form of a pop-up. Pop-up means it's a part of the screen, it's a some part of the screen. You will get in the form of information. Okay. So that is the information message. For example, if I display the same information in the form of a information message, it should display in the pop-up. Let me show you that. For example, I am giving correct input which is there in the database. Now you can see data retrieved successfully. In the form of a pop-up, you will get this particular message. Okay. So previously, we retrieved the success message and the data at once. But information message is not like that. Firstly, it will give that message. Once if you press continue only, you will get that particular data. It will be, okay. If I press enter, so now I can see the data. If you want to display in the form of a pop-up, you can use the concept of information message. But what if, for example, I have error message. I want to show it as a pop-up. I want to show it as a pop-up. How can I proceed with that? That is also a possibility without going for the lot of code in the above. So that is the, for example, if I go back, this is the error message, display like. That means initially I have error message. The state of message is same, but this error message I want to display like how you want to display, whether you want to display as success, whether you want to display as warning, whether you want to display as information message. That is the type of the message you have to specify how you have to display this error message. For example, I want to display this error message as information message so that it would become in the pop-up. If I activate this and execute, so now if I press F8, so now I could see, sorry, we are giving the correct input. So that's the reason. Just try to give the input which is not there in the database table. So that you should know that. See now, enter correct input. See, this is the state of message. This is the error. The state of message is same, but the kind of display is different. Whatever the message type which we are giving, that state of message is same. How you have to display that defines the display like. That is only for the display purpose, but the state of message is same. Hope you got the point. And
Yes, Harsh.
yeah. Similarly, this messages mm, this is a hard coding of the message, right? This is a hard coding of message. So whatever the message which I was put into it, directly I'm hard coding that particular message into program level. But what if you have any translate issues? For example, someone is non-English. So they want to understand this particular language. They could not able to get whatever the message you are displaying, right? As I said, SAP is not meant for the specific language. It's meant for the all the languages. It's not language independent. Okay. So for that, we have to use the concept of message class. So we'll create the message class in the SE91. The T code which we need to create a message class is SE91. So whatever the message we are putting here, so you can write it down the same message into that particular message class. For every message is having some number to identify this message I have to display. Okay, so let me create a message class /o SE91. For example, jetcl msg. Okay, click on create. So now you can provide the some description message class in the messages, local object. In the messages, you can enter your message. Every message is having the 3-digit number. So you can call your message with this number only. For example, what is the message I have to display? Let me copy this and paste the same into the here. Okay. So now let's activate this. Okay. So it's done. So now how you can call this message class into our program. Okay. That is the point. So message, what type of message you want to display? For example, this is the information message or success message. Yes, for the type of message. Okay. So what is the number? Message number, right? In the message class, you would see the message number. Okay, what is the message number you want to display? 000, right? So just you can assign those number, and within the brackets, what is this S000 weight? It could be identified. That is from the message class, right? You have to give that message class. For example, ZCL MSG. That's it. Okay. Yes is for the type of message. This is the message number which we defined in the class. This is the message class. Got it? For example, yes is the message type. Next one, 000 is the message number. Next, ZCL MSG is the message class. Okay, so now let's activate this effect. Just give the input which is there in the database and effect. Okay, now you can see the data retrieved successfully the same message. Okay, for example, I want to display.
A quick question here, Harsha. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so if we are hard coding this enter correct input and these, and can we do
Can we?
this with text elements if we want to change it later?
Yeah, you can use. In that case, directly you can use the text symbols here. Message text 001 like this. Okay, you can double click
Okay,
and
understood.
you can
Mm-hmm.
create that. You can whatever the
Create
message
that.
you want, you can put it that.
Mm-hmm.
Enter correct input. Okay,
And we can change this anytime, right?
yeah, you can
So
change it anytime.
whatever we can hard coding, we can just create text element and we can change it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you for explaining.
yeah, no problem. So now same, right? Whatever the input which we are, whatever the message which we are
Yeah.
giving in the form of text elements, the same message.
Mm-hmm. Same message. Understood.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Okay. For example, so we are displaying the only data. So what if I want to display any set of values? Okay, any set of values. Values means, for example, whatever the value which I was giving in the parameter, okay, in the parameter, I have to display those message. For example, this time I'm giving the 4506. Okay, so user could know that. So what is the key, the data which you are retrieve the data. Okay, for that you have to use the concept of ampersand. We already discussed, okay, we already discussed about the double ampersand. Double ampersand, which is used to the concept of join. For example, it is not clicking this one. Okay, let me, whether this was in change mode. Do you want this? Okay, let me go to save. Okay, no problem. Okay, so you have to use the concept of ampersand. Ampersand is used to, which is used to print the value in the message. In a single message, you can display till 4 ampersands. Okay, you can print the 4 values at a time. Okay, so let me show that. For example, this is the message, right? Let me change the number. Okay, so now you can define with your parameter name, whatever the input which you are giving, you want that should be shown in the message itself. So you can use the ampersand in the message class. So after that, you can use that in the message itself. So whatever the value which we are giving in the form of an input, so that should be shown in the message itself. F8. For example, enter this F8. So now you can see data retrieved successfully for 506. Now it should be more meaningful, right? Before what we discussed. So like this, you can provide the some set of values for it. And this is the which will be it. For example, with this is a parameter, right? Can we use the variables in the message? The answer is
Before
yeah,
one request,
yeah,
Harsha. So these I'm not able to log into the same server. So your program is like I couldn't find this because it's a different application server. Can you just maybe copy paste the code once after this program somewhere in the chat, maybe so that we have the
Okay, I'll
version for
provide
this?
you some notepad file to you if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that
in
that works.
those,
So can you?
I try to paste the code and will send to you.
Okay, okay, that works for maybe every class.
This is the host server.
Okay, Harsh server. Okay.
Yeah, you are giving they are giving a different server for you or same.
No, it's the application server is different. So I couldn't see this ZINT table operations, TAPK operations program in it. It's a different application server.
Yeah, no problem. I'll paste the code for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You can also perform some operations into the variable and you can display that particular into in the message. For example, I'm going to take a variable data LV, for example, LV VBL. Sorry, purchase, for example. Okay, purchase. So in this, otherwise, you can perform a simple concatenation. Concatenate. So I'm going to concatenate with the LSEKKO. That is the EBELN and the LSEKKO. Okay, okay. AEDAT, LSEKKO. For example, I'm going to concatenate with this three data into the one particular, okay, one particular, sorry, variable, and I can use that particular variable in the message. That is also a possibility separated by comma. Okay. For example, let me put this after the loop because we are assigning work area in the loop and we try to put this message after the concatenate. Okay. So in this message, so what is the we don't have any message to be hard coded, just we need to print some value. So because of that, we stored in a variable. So we use that variable in the message. So whatever the data it has, and whether it was hard coded, whether it has some value, so that is displayed in the form of a message. That is also a possibility. LV purchase. This is my message, right? For example, type I. Okay. If I execute this 4506 and F8, so now you can see in the information message, you would see 4506, the date, the username. Like this also, it's possibility. Okay. And for example, let me comment out this thing. Okay, so in this, so we were only seen about the how you can utilize the parameter. What if I want to use the concept of select options, that is the providing a range of values into the input. Let me declare a select option first. For example, select options. So what is our select option? Yes, for the select option. For we already have the work area, and this work area we got EBLN instead of using the tables because we already have work area. Okay, okay. Here, let's pass yes. So now you can use the yes. Okay. Let me give the selection text elements, selection text. So now you can provide the SEBLN. Activate. So now you can see the range of values, right? So now you can guess the same query, but the only change in the SQL query is whenever you use the parameter, you have to use the equal to. Equal to means it's single value. Whenever you are using the select option means it's a
Sorry for this. I have one question here. Harsha, can you hear me?
yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so the size sub RC before that, if we write the concat statement, what will happen? Will it like the function will be over and it will
Which one? This one?
yeah, if the concat is over, if size sub RC always goes to the previous line, right?
I'm not getting your question.
So for example, this concatenation is successful if sub size sub RC equal to 0. That our 270 line number will be successful. Size sub RC will be 0, right?
Yeah,
So, and if the
because
concatenation failed,
why I've
then it will
returned,
be failing, right?
yeah, why I was returned after the loop means if the worker is not assigned to the internal table, at that time we are not getting any data for it. Okay, so
Yeah, after that, so once line number 270 will run, after that, psi sub RC will not equal 0, right?
in that case, it will go to else part.
Else part.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. The only change we have in the select query is whenever you use the parameter, you have to use the equal to. Equal to means single value. Whenever you use the select option, you have to use the concept of in. Always you can remember in the above. This is fixed one. In means it's an internal table. Internal table. As I said, select option is internal table, right? So you have to specify here as an, okay. This is the only change when you want to use this select option. Okay. So now if I execute this 4 5, for example, I want to display from 4 5 to 4 5 0 6, for example. If I execute this, so now if I press F8, so now you can see whatever the values which I was giving 45012, 4506, I'm getting those values, but it is not in the sequential order. Okay, we are not sorting that.
And if you want to concatenate, like just for the first case, you want to concatenate all the values, then in the loop
Yeah,
itself, we will use the concat option.
yeah. In the loop itself, you can use. After the loop also, you can use.
Okay.
So here,
After the loop, but the work area will be having each time a
yeah,
single value, right? After
in
the
that cases,
loop,
if you have the multiple values, if you use the outside of the loop, you will get the only last value in the work area.
correct.
So if you have any
Understood.
explicit value, so you have to use in the loop itself.
Understood. Yeah.
So if you see in the message, data retrieved successfully, BT, whatever the range of values which we are giving, we are displaying like this, right? As I said, select
Yeah.
option.
Understood. Yeah.
Select option is having the four parameters, four fields. One is sign option low high. As I said, I means for the include, whenever you give the range of values, that means the low value and high value, option is BT. So whatever the values which we are given, those will be triggered in this message, right? Because, because if you remember the ampersand in the message class, it's only one, right? One ampersand. But we are printing two values into the message, right? Is that printing the two values with a single ampersand?
I
Definitely.
got a bit confused here. Can you please come again?
We are printing low value and high value,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but we are using only single ampersand. This is only for the printing single value.
Yeah. Understood.
Because of we are giving the select option while displaying the value. For example, here, if you see here with SEBLN, so that means whatever the values which I was giving in the select option, I have to print those values. We are not
Understood. Yeah.
explicitly specifying I want to print only low value, I want to print only high value. That is also a possibility. That is also a possibility. I want to print only low value or I want to print only high value. That is also a possibility. For example, I want to print only low value. Yes, you will in hyphen low value. Now I can get only that particular value. If I execute this message class is very much important. So that's the reason which I'm taking so many different types of methods we have. LTE Kikevo, yes, EBLN. So now you can see as we are giving the range of values, I for the include option for the BT, this is the low value, this is the high value. So that means what is the low value here? 450, right? This has to be printed in the message. If I press F6, so now I can see all the values, all the values. If I press F8, so now I could see only low value, right? Previously, if you observe, when we use the entire select option, you would get the sign, you will get the option, you will get the low value and high value. Okay, because we have only single ampersand. But what if I want to print only the values which I was given in the inputs in the selection screen? Okay. So in those cases, we are printing two values here, right? So you have to use the two ampersands. Okay, two ampersands. For example, in our program, we are using only low value as printing. For example, if I go back, if I directly use the I want to print high value also, EBLN hyphen high. Let me see how it is printing. 450, 4506, F8, execute. Still, it is printing only low value. Whenever you explicitly specify low value and high value, I want to be printed in the message. So that has to be, the ampersand has to be, the value printer has to be added into the message class itself. Without that, even though you entered in the message while displaying, it is not making any impact. Okay. For example,
Can you just put, for example, just put a high value? Just want to see how.
which one here?
Yeah, only the high value.
In that cases, I'll get the high value because we
High
have
value.
only single ampersand, right?
Yeah.
For example, if I put low here, 450, 4506, F8. So now you can see only high value 4506.
No.
And whenever you want to use the multiple ampersands, so just try to initialize with the numbering ampersand 1, ampersand 2. Okay. The data retrieved successfully, for example, from I'm going to give ampersand 1, the value which I am giving in the low tab, to ampersand 2. Okay. This is the high value. I'm getting this and the ampersand 2. Okay. Let me check how it was reflected. F3 for the go back. For example, high. And this I'm going to show you with a low. Activate F8. So now you can see 450. Now you can execute this. Now you can see the data retrieved successfully from 450 to 4506. The user also knows that. So this is the data which we retrieved in the form of a message. This is the proper the message, right? Previously, when you use the direct select option, you will get the IBT, right? So now we are not getting anything.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, these are the various concepts in the message. So I give all of them. So definitely this plays major role in it. So definitely you have to practice with this. And if I execute once, okay, this is the right. If I want any value, Okay, if I want any value to be hard coded, you can use that in the where condition itself. Okay, this not the system is banned. Let me wait for some time.